Welcome to Whole and Beautiful. Good evening and welcome. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela the Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad that you all have joined me for another night of information, revelation, and change. As you see tonight, we are continuing our conversation from last night when we were on When Life Speaks. And we have Miss Andrea L. Hines with us on tonight.
How you doing? Everybody? Hey, how are you? How are you?
We had a great conversation on last night. We talked about a lot of different things last night, and we said that we were going to continue on our conversation today, which we are. And we're just going to recap a little bit about what we talked about last night to bring those up to par where we left off, so that when we go into this conversation on tonight, that you can join in. We want you to join in tonight just like you joined in last night. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear what you have to say. Chime in at any time, and we will try to get to those comments also. Last night, Miss A, we talked about the three C's.
Three C's.
And we had a good time with those three C's.
Yes, we did.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the three C's that we talked about on last night to share with everybody where we kind of went with everything?
Sure. And I'm going to back up a little farther than that, okay. And in case we have some new listeners or viewers on. We have been talking about faith after 50. That's been our overall theme for these 2-day conversations that we're having. And it started with, what are you believing for now? The things that we prayed for when we were younger and the things that we pray for now have just been so different. And we talked about what some of those differences were and some of those changes were. And one of the things we talked about life languages, the different languages of respect and support and listening and appreciation, those kinds of things that are important in our now, but we didn't put as much weight on them when we were younger. And we began to talk about one of the key topics, I guess we should say, had to do with what are we believing for now when it comes to adult children? What are the things that are important to us? And those three C's that we talked about last night were character construction, change in relationship. And we talked about how sometimes it comes full circle because as the child matures and as the parent ages, sometimes the parent starts feeling like the child and the child starts feeling like the parent. and trying to navigate through those changes and what is it that we need to do in order to make some necessary changes and make sure that communication is open and that we understand each other. And one of the things that we talked about in the first program that brought us to this point was that there is much to give, much to share, and much to understand when it comes to the generations. We want to understand one another better. We want to be able to communicate better and do things in an open way. And one of the things that came out of the three C's was communicating with care. Yes. How are we communicating as the different generations. What are the things that work? What are the things that don't work? And let me tell you, this is a tip of the iceberg kind
Yes.
of conversation. It's really food for thought because, as I found out when the people were responding to the little survey that we did, we sent out 8 questions, and we know we're not going to get to everything. We're not going to solve every issue or solve
Mhm.
every problem, but they are things to kind of make you think, and hopefully the 8 will be a new beginning to either enhance a dialogue or foster a dialogue that may not be happening generationally, so that we know that we are praying the prayers we should pray, and we are focusing on the things that God would have us focus on when it comes to faith after 50 in regards to our adult children. And we did too, actually. We sent it to the adults with children, with
Yes.
children. We sent them to the adult children. so so they could respond and tell us a little bit about how they felt about some of these things. Um, you have some company with you tonight,
Yeah.
and I'm going to let you introduce them. But that's basically where we are and what we're going to do. I promised that we would not give names. We would keep things anonymous and not disclose who the folks were. And I'm going to stick to that. But I thank everybody who participated. You know who you are. If you participated in this survey, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing that. And whether you did or not, if you want to make any comments on some of the questions that were asked and how they were responded to, feel free to put it in the comment section. You know how we do. And we will get to it and we will discuss it. So I'm going to turn it back over to Angie. I got to host last night, so this is Angie's show tonight. So we will leave it up to her, Angie. So where do we go from here, lady?
Right now, we're gonna bring in our guest on tonight that we have. We wanted to talk to somebody in another generation to bring them in, and we had them on like a couple of weeks or so ago. They were on, and the response was like phenomenal. People were like chiming in, and other people were talking about how the conversation went. So we were like, what better people to bring back on than the people that were on last time? They had the conversation going even after the show was over. The conversation was still going on. So I'm gonna have Miss Elizabeth Oliphant like to come in. Hi, Lizzie.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good.
Like I told y'all last time, she has the same last name as me. Yeah, that's my daughter. That's my youngest. And then we have Mr. Derek Childs. Hi,
Hello.
Derek.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for
I
asking.
want to thank you all for coming back to the show and to share your thoughts on what we're talking about and the questions that were asked and everything. We want to go through those questions and everything. But can y'all just share just a little bit of information about yourself, who you are, because somebody may not have seen the last show that you were on, so they don't know who you are. So if you can introduce yourselves, and then we're gonna hop right in and start with these questions and this conversation for tonight. Elizabeth, you can go first, and then Mr. Derek.
Well, my name is Elizabeth. I'm the youngest of Miss Angela's. Yeah, that's about
Yeah,
it.
that's about it. And,
Don't
and
don't let me start talking about you. You get
yeah,
an opportunity and talk for yourself.
and you're a mom also, correct?
Yeah, I'm a mom of two.
Okay. And you're in that 30-ish range,
I'm
correct?
30. I'll be
Okay.
31 in October.
All right.
Mm.
Don't push me. Don't push me.
Okay, Mr. Derek, can you share a little bit about yourself, who you are?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Ms. Angel, my name is Derek. I am 33, originally from Queens, New York. Live in North Carolina. I am not a parent biologically, but I am a parent to Genesis.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Let's we want to get into this conversation. Like Miss Andrea has said, we had the parent questions, and then we also had the grown children questions. Those are those adult children that we call them because they belong to us. And then we wanted to ask them questions just to get some idea. And we did it on a scale of 1 to 10. So you could choose between the 1 to 10. And it's like I was saying before, it's nothing like we're saying like people are down in their parents or even their adults down in their children. We're just trying to find out where the communication and the gaps are. And sometimes the gaps are a little bit larger with some families and stuff. We are trying to do what we saying is bridge the gap between the two so that communication is better, so that we kind of know where each other are, because sometimes we don't talk that much and we just assume that people know certain things concerning us. We assume that we know our children assume that they know us, and we really don't know each other at all. Well, sometimes when you look at the situations and stuff, sometimes you have a grown adult that knows their parent really well, and sometimes you have that adult that knows their child real well. But sometimes we're in those places where we don't know because things have changed over the years and we haven't had those conversations. So we want to have this conversation tonight. We're going to ask these questions and we're going to hop right in. And Miss A, would you like to take the first question?
Sure. I'll take the first one. And I will say this. It was interesting to me that the answers, the responses for the adult children and from the parents' perspective and the adult children's perspective were pretty much the same.
Wow.
And that was for all of them.
Wow.
There was only one question that kind of deviated a little bit, but for the most part, all of the responses were pretty much right there together. The first question was on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best case scenario. And Derek and Liz, I think Angie's going to want you to respond to this after I give the North Carolina side.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best case scenario and 1 being the least favorable, how well do you think you know your parents? How well do you think you know your parents? And the average response was at a 7. We had some that were 10 and some that were 8 floating in there. But for the most part, the children think they know their parents pretty well, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But they think they know us, Angie. What the world?
They do. They think they know who we are.
and interestingly enough, their responses in knowing us were a little bit higher than our responses in thinking we know them.
Oh, wow.
We may need to do a little more dialoguing or something.
Yeah, we might need to talk a little bit more.
But what do you guys think about that, Derek and Elizabeth? What do you think?
As far as the parents,
how well do you think you know your parents?
Your parents.
I think I know my parents pretty well.
On a 1 to 10, where would you put yourself?
I would say a 10.
You take 10.
A 10.
I would say a 10.
Don't be swayed by that, Derek. You have your own answer. It's okay.
No, I would say a 10. I would say I can kind of go with 7. I'll go with 7 with my mom and 6 with my dad.
7 with your mom and 6
and 6 for your dad.
Yes.
Okay.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think that difference is there?
Oh, the difference, because I grew up around my mother more.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I spent more time with her. So okay, let's do this. We'll make her an 8, and we'll make my dad a 7. Smoke. I want no smoke. I want no smoke.
You say you don't want no smoke.
I want no smoke. 8.
Well, that's the one where the children's marks were definitely higher by a point or even 2 than what the parental response was. And I think as we go through this, I think that our adult children either listen or have listened more intently than we think.
Yeah.
Because some of the responses later on when we get to them were very, very appreciative, showing appreciation to what they were taught.
Wow.
When they were younger. And I think a lot of times we don't think that they get it, and they do. And there's an appreciation for it. Josie, Nakia Child said, now I don't know, Nakia, are you a parent? Is Nakia a parent or a child? Does anybody know who Nakia is?
Yes, she's a parent. She's
a parent? Okay. Nakia was in the 7 range and Josie was in the 4 range. So that kind of follows through a little bit, but they were right there still in that ballpark. Francina said, able to have adult conversations now with transparency and honesty that they can now handle. So that is part of the difference. And also, I wanted to say that the difference in the answers and the fluctuation in the answers sometimes came about depending upon how old the adult children were.
Okay.
And that is due to what Francina was saying.
Yeah.
There are things that the more mature adult child could handle better than the younger adult child.
Younger child can handle.
So kind of keep that in mind as we go through as well. Okay, you want me to wait? What you want to do now? You want me to take 2, or you want to take 2?
You can take 2, and then I'll start with 3.
Okay, all right. 2 is on a scale of 1 to 10. With 10 being best case scenario. How well do you think your parents know you? We talked about how well you think you know your parents. How well do you think your parents know you? If they were on a quiz show and had to answer questions and say
about you,
my child would or would not. You think they get some perfect scores or what? You 2 are looking like they'd be sad. Let's be serious now. How well do you think your parents know you?
As far as my mom, I would say I think she would probably pass. And then my dad, probably a 5-ish.
Middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And mom would be up in the 10 bracket?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say my mom, I'll say 8. I'll say 8. My dad, We'll go with 5. We'll go with 5.
Okay.
Go with 5.
Now, interestingly enough, from the parents' perspective of how well they think that they know you, their scores were lower.
Wow.
So they don't think that they know you as well as you think they know.
As you think that they know you.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Again, I think it still comes back to that issue of the communication.
Yeah.
In communicating with care, because there's something missing when I don't think I know you.
Right. Right.
Something,
it's like something just not connecting.
yeah, something's not connecting. And it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world.
Right.
And it doesn't mean, because in all instances, the last question, are your conversations with your parents, or vice versa, what you would like for them to be? And the answer was yes, unanimously.
Wow.
Everybody said yes.
So if we can skip to that too.
Whatever it is that may be lacking is not lacking enough.
Yeah.
For people to feel that they don't have a good connection with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So let's just skip to that question and ask them that one, Derek and Lizzie. Are your conversations with your parents what you would like for them to be?
And if not, what would you like to change?
What would you want to change if it's not?
I think what my mom is, I think it's good. So, because I talk to her most of the time.
Okay.
And then with my dad, it's not its best, but probably talk more often than we do now.
Talking more often.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, if you could change something, that's what it would be.
Mm-hmm. I would say that my communication with my mom, I'll say it's pretty good. With my dad, I think for years that I've tried to make it better, but he has to respond, to my advances. So I think he's doing better now as he's getting older. So I guess it's a matter of reaching out more. But he's not the best texter. He's not the best phone talker at times. But I am making a more of an effort to reach out despite past things.
Mm-hmm. We had that come up, Derek, in the conversation yesterday a little bit, and that was the issue of social media, or socialization, I will say, that is not there as much as it once was, due to technology. And due to the fact that it is so easy to pick up the phone and send a text, and how easily things can sometimes be miscommunicated, because without the body language and without looking somebody in the eye or whatever, sometimes you don't perceive exactly what the person is trying to say to you.
Yeah.
And the need sometimes to attempt on some level to get back to the face-to-face, the personal touch. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Do you think that could have something to do with it, or may be helpful in improving the communication piece? Communication. It's so different now.
Right. Maybe.
Okay.
That probably would help, I guess, maybe, but also he lives out of state. So sometimes having that in-person conversation is a little bit harder than others who lives in New Jersey. And I live in North Carolina. So in the times where he does come down to visit and things like that, we do have those increased conversations. But when he's out of town or when he's not here, and I try to text, he'll text me. We don't talk every day, but our communication is improving from when I was younger.
Do you all FaceTime?
Like in general, do I FaceTime or?
Yeah. I mean, some people never use that, and some people use it all the time. Family prayer and those kinds of things. Are you a big FaceTime person?
I'm not. Most times people call me on FaceTime. I'm not really a person necessarily that will call people on FaceTime unless they call me. I'll answer it, but most times I don't
initiate it.
You're not going to initiate it. Okay.
Way to go. High five, Darren. I have a comment I want to put up here from Francina. I'm sorry, Angie. I should have let you do this.
No, you can go ahead.
Francina said she's not a FaceTime person. This was what was interesting. She said, my son gave me more credit than I expected. There were things my son couldn't discuss with me because I wasn't a male figure.
Wow.
Do you agree with the sentence that says only a man can raise a man? That a mother can't be a father. You need a father to be a father. Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that. I agree with it to a certain extent because I think sometimes women, no offense, okay?
No, none taken.
Women sometimes can raise men based off experiences that they've had. So based on the male experiences that they've had with other males, whether it's their father, whether it's their brother, whether it's a boyfriend or a husband, they can sometimes raise their sons based off of that experience of what the opposite of maybe what they experience. Or sometimes it may be the good things. Maybe, oh, my husband bought me flowers, so I'm gonna raise my son to do that. So I think it's I'll say it's 50-50 that a woman can somehow they can teach them things,
certain things.
Man being there really solidifies who that male is. They can speak to his insecurities, can speak to personal experiences they went through as a man, and then can kind of guide them through being a husband, being a father, being a provider, being a protector. That a woman that's not their role. So that's not something that they can teach because those are not things that they ascribe to.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to touch that. I'll be real honest. I'm not going to touch that one because I think that would take us down a whole
nother road.
I'm not going to debate certain issues. That's not where we are with this conversation. So you have every right to say exactly what you want to say, and you stand by it. If that's what you believe, Derek, you stand by it. And yes, indeed. But I'm going to leave it alone. Says that she uses more FaceTime. So
yeah.
Trying to get into that as an alternate as we speak. Okay.
Okay, well, we're gonna move right along with our next question. And this one is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best and 1 being the least favorable. How open, transparent are you in your conversations with your parents?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10.
I think With my mom, probably a eight-ish. And then with my dad, probably this low, very low.
Mhm.
Like a 1 or a 0.
And Derek, where were you? Where are you?
I'll say with my mom, I'll say 7 or 8. With my dad, I'll probably say we'll go with 5. We'll go back with 5.
Okay. Okay. Josie commented on that when Josie said about a 6. So she's a little bit above that mid range. And I do want to go back,
Yeah.
Angie, and pull up Bernice's
Right.
response when we were talking about texting. And she said, I think texting is sometimes a way for some people to say what they have to say when they can't verbally convey or express what they need to say to the person face to face.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
that's an interesting perspective and a true
Yes.
perspective, and
Exactly.
a very true and honest one.
Yes. Miss A, with that particular question, was that still around the same area of what they're coming in at? These
For the parents and the
for the children, yes. For the adults.
actually, yeah, this was question number 3, right?
Um, yes,
Yeah,
question number 3.
question number 3. Actually, it's like 1 point off.
Oh, okay.
1 point off, yeah.
It's amazing to me how it balanced out. But anywho. Our next question is on a scale of 1 to 10. With that particular one, how comfortable are you seeking advice from your parent? How comfortable are you going to them? That's like, do you feel that level of comfort? 1 to 10. Miss Lizzie.
I think it's based on what the advice is for. I think
Okay.
Okay.
so. If it's something going like major, probably a 7 or 8. But if it's just like regular advice that I would go to my friend for, mm, that's probably low.
Like
I
not so
probably would
much.
go to my parents about a major decision before it's just like a regular advice type
Yeah.
that I go to my friends for.
Uh, I can kind of agree with that. If it's something that's major, something that could be life changing, I'm more willing to. I guess I'd be more comfortable in my parents or my mom. So I'll say probably. I'll probably say 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Okay.
Okay, 7 or 8.
And then
One.
Chelsea, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Uh, Tens across the board, except for one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Except for one on
Except for
both
one.
sides. Parents being comfortable giving the advice, and the adult children being comfortable in receiving it. So there was only one that average response that was um, a little over mid range, and Nakia is coming in with a 7 for her mom, and I mean 7 for her dad. No, 7 for her mom and 10 for her dad. And Josie is saying that it depends on what it
On
is.
what it is.
I have a question for Derek and Elizabeth,
Mhm.
and it was not explained in the question in the surveys, but on a scale of 1 to 10,
Mhm.
how do you handle or how do you deal with, or can you deal in a favorable manner with unsolicited advice? Because we as parents have a tendency to
Yeah,
just want to help you,
ab-
just
absolutely.
feel we just gotta get in there and just tell you how to fix that thing, whatever it is, you know. And sometimes that is not what you want. You know, you either just need an ear or you just want somebody to hear you out. You're not looking for anything extra. As the kids say, you're doing too much. You don't want us doing too much. Pull that back in a little bit. But how do you feel about that? And how do you handle it when you are getting unsolicited advice?
I would say in the past, what me and Derek, like if we feel like it's not favorable, we'll talk about it, but we take it in consideration. So it's not like we say, oh, that's just, we don't need that. And so we talk about it, but then we take it in consideration, like, okay, that's how they feel. But then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so how are we going to live our lives as well? Mm-hmm. So, but it's not like we disregard their opinion or what they have to say. We do take it in consideration.
Gotcha. And Derek?
Unsolicited advice. I think for one, it depends on where it's coming from or who it's coming from, what it's about. I think one thing that's something that me and my friends do is that when we call each other, we'll tell each other what's going on. And then we'll say, do you want me to give you my opinion or are you just looking to vent, to kind of get that permission to give my opinion or to give, because sometimes people don't want unsolicited advice. So to listen to what they're saying.
Uh-huh.
I guess it depends on the situation and how I feel about it. Because sometimes I don't want to hear the advice. I just want you to listen so that I can kind of bounce the idea off of you.
Just kind of hear it outside of your head.
Right. Correct. And I'll listen to it. I definitely will listen to it and take it into consideration, and kind of go from there. Because real quickly, one thing I've realized that sometimes people give advice once again from their own experiences. So they may have had a bad experience with this particular thing, and they're giving you advice from that, and it may not be the right advice, or may be warped advice. So he's kind of taking the meat and throwing out the bones.
I like that. That's good. Yes, because a lot of times people do communicate from a place of pain,
right,
rather than a place of power and discernment and wisdom.
Right.
So yeah, that is very important. I want to put something that Francina has said up here.
Yeah.
She said, my daughter and our relationship has really evolved within the last few years. We're able to discuss just about anything. My son holds no cut cards. He is not ashamed to talk about anything with me. That's good.
That's good.
Everybody can't say that. That's good. But I noticed that she said it has evolved.
Right.
It has evolved. So time, patience, understanding, all of those things come into play with that. So that's good.
Nice.
Good.
You want to take the next question? Number 5?
Number 5 got a little tricky in the responses. I don't think people really knew how to respond, and from a 1 to 10 cents. So I think we'll just ask Derek and Elizabeth. And if you want to answer this, not just from your perspective, but your friends, people that you are close to, that you talk to, if you hear them say this, or you think you've got friends that are kind of in this category, that says, do you feel that your parent treats you like a child rather than like an adult?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Go ahead. I could give y'all some time to think.
He did all that
from the parents' perspective.
He did all that thinking and then went, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Lady first.
I would say no. I don't think, as far as my parents treat me like a child, if it was like growing up and then I was getting older, I would say they were like, "Oh, your parents are strict" type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as me being older, no. A lot of people will say that they would rather be able to talk to their mom or hang out with their mom. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hang out with my mom, so I would say when I was coming up, they would thought they were my parents were like very strict and thought they would treat me like, "Oh, you too old for that." But now it's different.
Mm-hmm. Josie had a response, and her response was yes, most
Of
of
the
the
time.
time, most of the time. Derek, how about you? It's rolled back your way.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I,
Let that-
I, I don't feel like my parents treat me like a child. I definitely feel like my mom gives me room to kind of express myself and kind of make decisions on my own. But I do feel like it is a transition from when you're a child to when you're an adult. I'm also my mother's youngest child. So I was the last one that was in the house. So having that transition from being her child and, her kind of being in charge of what's going on in my life and then me living by myself and I'm controlling basically everything. It's a transition, but I don't feel like she treats me like a child. I'm still her child, but she doesn't treat me like a child.
okay.
Got it.
Good.
That is good. That is good. And even with that though, I was like, I was surprised because I was feeling like, well, maybe I do sometimes. Because of the way I get the way that I process it in my own head, and I try to tell myself to back away. I was like, back away, you, and I try not to interject my own advice in things. I kind of back away because I tell all my kids, if you want my advice, you need to come to me and ask me, and I will talk. I will give it to you. If you don't want it, don't ask me. Or don't bring me into the situation. And then I won't say a word. I try my best not to say anything, but sometimes that works, sometimes that don't. But some I try really hard not to like give unsolicited advice.
Mhm.
Now the last two questions, and we are fast running out of time.
Yes, we are.
The last two questions had to do with what you wish your parent or the child would stop doing. And the other part of that was what do you appreciate them doing? And I wanted to bring one of the responses up because you were talking about um, uh, giving advice and unsolicited advice. And one of the adult child comments said, I wish my parent would stop being afraid to meddle.
Wow.
Mhm.
And said, I think
Interesting.
that the fear of meddling or interfering makes them keep their distance sometimes.
Wow.
And that's not what I want. And I thought that was just a really, really interesting comment,
Yeah.
to make. And just kind of made me think of sometimes that we think we are being silent out of the respect aspect that we talked about before.
Right.
But sometimes they really do want us to speak.
To speak is
And I think it's really important where we started this whole thing about, the faith for now, is to seek his face
right.
when we are in those particularly critical moments
Right.
of wondering, do I speak, or is this a time I back off, or am I going to soft pedal this, or what I'm going to do? And just say, Father, what would you have me say?
Right.
And then give them a heart to receive whatever it is, and you tend not to go wrong with that. Let me see
Yeah.
if we can
With
pull one
Francina.
up here. Francine says, honestly, I can say I did because of the poor decisions. We're on better terms now. Experience being the best teacher for growth and maturity. And a lot of times that's what this all boils down to.
Yes.
A lot of this is maturity. And I think that's why sometimes the responses were different based on the age that
Yes.
the individual was, because there are just some things that they have not been through yet. So they are not comprehending the same way, which can lead to offense and what they feel is judgment. And it's not. Um, we are at 7:46. Angie,
Yes.
what
And
would you have me do? You want me to run through this is good and this is not so good, or we want to turn it over to our two guests, your two guests, and ask them what are the things you wish your parent would stop doing, and what are
yes,
the things that you wish they would, that you appreciate them
that you
for.
appreciate them for. Let's ask them that, what she just asked. Let's ask you all that, because we are getting ready to wrap everything up. Those lasting questions. Hello. Maybe you're quiet, Miss A.
Ladies first.
Something I wish they would stop doing. I would say worry.
Good answer.
Because it's like they taught us, and so it's like they instilled in us what they needed to, so they don't have to worry. I know it's like a lot that it's like I want you to do this, I want you to do that, but I would say worry and overthinking.
Mm.
We're good.
And then the thing that you appreciate, and then we're gonna move to Derek.
I appreciate the fact that they taught us how to be like loving people and family oriented. So it was more so we were always taking somebody in or helping somebody. So, and then we would always hang out as a family. So I appreciate that.
Cool. That's good.
That's good.
And family time matters.
Yes. Something that my parents I would want them to stop doing. I'm actually gonna piggyback off of Elizabeth as far as worrying because my mother did a great job with teaching us how to live. Now, of course, she didn't teach us every single thing. There's some things that I'm still learning how to do at 33 or learning to do, but the basics of life, she definitely poured into me and my siblings. Something that I love that she does or that she did was raising us up in God, which is a great foundation. So in times in this life or in times when I am angry or upset or don't know what's going on, I can go to God in prayer. I can, worship. I can, do those things that will kind of help lift up my spirit and kind of give me the push and the faith to keep going. And I just enjoyed even the traditions and things. She made our childhood fun. So yeah, I enjoy a number of things.
Wow. Miss A, I'm like, oh, okay. What was that comment with Miss Josie?
Josie says, not being able to be open with my mom changed how I deal with my daughter. So I'm very open with her. I talk to her and allow her to share how she feels. Good answers, Josie. Good answer, Josie.
That's good. That's good.
And we are at 7:49. Yeah. Now, wait, because I think I want to run through this real quick because I don't know if we'll get back to this, but what some of the comments were from children to parent and back and forth, I was very surprised that the thing that bothered the children, somebody was talking about, wishing that the parent would not worry. But the response from some of the adult children about what they wish that their parents would not do was don't keep things from me, especially when it comes to seeking medical help or having problems, and telling me if you need something. That this is on the child side.
Oh, wow.
That's on the adult child side. So those are things that they really wish that they had more of, if you put it that way, in terms of information as to how their parent is doing and what they need.
What they need.
On the other side, things that they appreciate. One response was, and I left it just like it was because it said, raising me the way they did kept me out of trouble and out of jail. To God be all the glory.
Yeah, to God be the glory. I ain't in jail.
And the other things had to do with giving me space, allowing me to think for myself, always being there when I needed them to be there, and things along that line. And I think that's and that openness and willingness to listen. Those were the things that were appreciated most. So I want to be sure that I got that in, because I don't know.
Yeah. Because what it seems like to me is the gap is not as big as what we may think it is.
The gap is not a divide.
It's really not a divide at all.
It's just a little gap.
Just a little one. And it's much smaller than what we thought. It's much smaller, and we are in a better space than what we think sometimes in our mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. This was a great conversation. Thank you, Deneen, for chiming in. This was a great conversation. We're going to have more of these conversations coming up during the course of the year. Hopefully, prayerfully, we'll be back with our Carolina connections, Faith After 50. I think this is going to be really good, guys. And we may bring back our favorite couple and have them come back and talk some more from their perspective.
You may have been drafted, guys, so don't be surprised. All I'm going to say, just don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised. And thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Derek, for being on, because we know when we asked, y'all said yes. And we thank you for that. Thank you for your yes. We're going to go ahead and get ready to leave. I am Angela D. Oliphant. Thank you, Miss A, for being here tonight.
Hey.
On Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela D. Oliphant, allowing you to see, hear, and know that Whole and Beautiful is not just your destination. It is most definitely your journey. And we are on a journey, and we're going to get there. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. This same conversation is going to be happening. You want to see it again tomorrow, or you want to let somebody else know, let them chime in at 4 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be right back here, and I will see you all again next Friday. I'll be right here with Whole and Beautiful and my Whole and Beautiful Nation. So good night, everybody. Love you much.
Okay, you take us out, Ann.
Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to be a guest or recommend a guest, you can contact me at wholebeautiful@gmail.com. On all other social media platforms, it's Whole and Beautiful. Remember, Whole and Beautiful is not just your destination. It is most definitely your journey.